Live! Live!
Well, live from the Plutopia News Network, this is the Plutopia Happy Hour. Our guest this evening is Alan Pogue, who is en route to the location at the moment, but we're all here. They're not ready for can't talk. They're not ready for the players are here. Maggie Duvall, Scoop Sweeney, John Lebkowski, and tonight's fearless leader, Susie Sheeler.
And I shall be hereafter known as DJ Jazzy John.
Okie dokie. So
You
we're waiting for Alan. Alan is on his way, right? Did you call him a taxi?
No, I didn't. I just sent it to him again. So, because he said he didn't get it. He was waiting for it. So
we're sending Alan the link so that he can join us.
Well, those emails to Austin are pretty, take a while to get from Austin to Austin.
They're tough. They're tough. Okay. So, but yeah, we'll hope that this works. I texted it to him and he needs it via email. So I emailed it to him and he has not received the email. I guess because sometimes my email takes quite a while. So I'm hoping that he gets that.
It depends on the mail server sometimes. Sometimes that happens. Like Gmails go through pretty quick.
Okay.
Well, we can have an interesting discussion while we wait.
Yeah.
Yes, it's the happy hour, so I'm going to be happy. Oh, John's got the hard stuff too. There. Oh, zero
sugar. I just drank a bunch of wine, so I'm trying to straighten myself out with some Dr. Pepper here.
Well, this is Cabernet Zero, so
Cabernet Zero.
Absolutely no calories.
I saw a movie recently that had a character who drank bourbon and Diet Dr. Pepper. Now what?
Oh, please!
What movie was that?
It's some communist propaganda, I think.
That's gross.
They're trying to sell more vodka.
So I drank a shot of scotch earlier today, and then I drank a little bit of wine, and now I'm on to Dr. Pepper, which shows that the night is really getting started.
Well, John will be waking up in the gutter pretty soon.
What prompted the
long slide down?
The scotch?
Was it a toast or something? Or?
I have some very good aged scotch here, and every now and then, not real early in the day, I mean afternoon, but mid-afternoon, I would say, occasionally I will just take a shot of scotch.
Well, let's just all
say I did because of the kind of mellow out the other thing that I did before I took the shot of scotch.
Well, John, let's all sing one bourbon, one scotch, one beer.
And one beer.
So I can tell you about a really interesting.
One scotch and one beer.
I can tell you about a really interesting book I'm reading right now. It's called.
Okay. The book club. We have a book club, Mag.
Well, this one's called Utopian Vistas, and it's about the
Wait, Plutopian Vistas?
No, Utopian in this one. And it's about the Mabel Dodge Lujan house in Taos and all of the artists and writers that she hosted. But I just finished the whole chapter on when Dennis Hopper owned it and the hijinks and shenanigans at her house during that 9 years he owned it. And it's pretty dang fascinating. So some amazing people went through that house. And I was thinking that for my birthday this coming year, I'm going to treat myself and I'm going to spend the night in Mabel Dodge Lujan's bedroom if I can book it.
Wow. She may kick you out.
Well, in the book, it talks about a number of the people. Apparently, people have seen her ghost and they smell cinnamon when they see her. But when Dennis Hopper was in the house, he did a hell of a lot of drugs and drank a hell of a lot of booze. And he just saw negative, like scary ghosts. And he had a lot of art in his house. And one of the pieces was a penitente. The penitentes are the religious group that crucify themselves Easter week and do the flagellation. That's another story.
Oh,
But anyway, they had a
Okay.
Penitente cart. He had one in his house, and he swore that the cart would chase him around the house. So, but yeah, you know, D.H. Lawrence was
wow.
there. George O'Keefe stayed there. So many different people over the years. So fascinating
George
read.
O'Keefe.
Well, I'm embarrassed about my book I'm reading. It's a little thin one. It's about this kid who has a ball, a big red ball. And that's as far as I've gotten. It has a lot of fly up stuff that folds out. Nice pictures, not a lot of words. So
That reminded me of
I'm not in a literary mood these days.
there was a Berenstein's Bears book that started something like Big Brown Bear,
Oh, I love
Blue
them.
Bull, Beautiful Baboon.
Beautiful.
And I used to
baboon.
read that to Hunter. You remember that book?
Oh, I remember it very well. Beautiful baboon blowing bubbles.
Right.
It's the Berenstein's bee book.
I do not. Oh, look who's here. Yay.
All
Oh,
right.
he's here.
He's connecting to audios.
Yeah, the audio is
The
not
man
quite here, but
himself.
Alan is here. We
All
have
right.
his image.
I don't
It
don't
takes a
actually
minute for
see
the
him.
audio to connect.
Yeah, it has to catch up.
I am reading Polly Murray's memoir, Song in a Weary Throat. Have you guys read that?
Whose
Do you know who
memoir is
she
that?
is?
Ah,
It's Polly Murray,
hey, Alan, you're showing muted there,
black
so
trans activist.
hit the mute button to unmute. There you go.
Right on.
Hello. Whoop.
We still don't hear you.
Lips are moving, but we're not getting anything.
If we just had a lip reader here.
I can't see him either.
Oh, you can't
That's
see.
probably
I
my
can.
issue.
You have to go full screen so you get the.
We can't hear you, Alan, but we can see you.
Do you have a what do you call? Oh, that. Do you have a microphone?
Unmuted.
Okay. Check the sound volume on your computer. Sometimes they get turned down by the operating system. I'm starting to hear some sound. Yeah, it's starting to
Turn it
cut.
up. You're getting.
Yeah, raise the volume
Wow.
I
more.
can hear you, but you're muffled. Huh.
Is there something blocking
What are
the mic?
Internal speakers, what I'm doing is I don't have my
Do you have headphones that have a speaker on them?
Let's see. Wayne's World. Wayne's World. So we are having technical difficulties here.
Yeah.
20% technical difficulties.
20%. So
Oh, there we go. There's a microphone. I mean, a headphone set, a headset.
That's what you need.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just looking at my picture. I look like I'm really embarrassed. I have to work on my lighting.
I do that most of the time too, where I look.
Well, I have
I'm
this
like,
big.
oh my God.
I have this big stained glass electric guitar lamp right up on the top of my workstation here. So
it's not a lava lamp, is it?
No, I bought it down on.
I think it's a lava lamp.
Yeah, I bought it.
Didn't want to admit
Those
it.
Those don't give off a lot of light.
Yeah, no, it's not a lava
we're
lamp.
still not hearing you, Alan.
Yep.
That's weird. Yeah, you got your headset
Yeah, I
there.
don't know what the.
You may have to select the source of the sound on I'm not sure what operating system, but like on the Mac, you have to select the USB input for the headset. No.
It's almost as though the something beyond us is preventing our
It might
interviewing you.
require, it might require, I've had to do this before, where with the headset plugged in, you have to restart, you have to reboot, and then the computer might recognize that as the audio input output source.
Yep, that actually makes a lot of sense.
Okay.
Well, you know, we can, we're recording this so we can sell this later on as a how-to Zoom. You know. I've seen worse things, so as a how-to.
So here's what you probably want to find. You should see something like this. If you go down to your audio settings, which is a matter of clicking next to the little microphone, there's like a little caret pointing up, and you click that. Then you go into audio settings, and you've got volume settings in there, and you can select the correct input and that sort of thing. And that may be what you need to do. Like where you see AT2020 USB, that's actually my headset and microphone combination that I've had to select. And then if you can, you know, if you can get the volume, if you can get a good volume on there. If only we could hear you.
So, while we're trying to figure that out, we were talking about books.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
and I was,
go ahead. The last time we did this, you had him call you on your cell phone or on your phone and put it on speaker.
No, he can dial into the, you can actually dial in to do the audio via his phone. Yeah, I just let me look for the number for that.
Well, we're doing a whole how-to now. We really should sell this. Okay, folks.
Let's see.
Next time you have trouble getting that financial department Zoom meeting up, just call us and we'll send you one of these videos.
Let's see here. Except I'm not sure where to find the phone number. I found it easily before. What's the name of the
Pauline Murray book, Susie?
I was going to tell John, it's actually in the invitation, I think, right? It says that if there's
we're using the personal room in here, and I'm just trying to figure out where it gives you that info for the personal room.
Okay. Yes, I was talking about song.
Oh, sorry, one sec. If you go to participants, click on invite and then copy invitation. That's how I've done it before. And then I've just put it in notes or something, pulled out the, let's see.
Okay, I got it.
And then maybe you could put it in the whole thing in chat, maybe.
Okay. Yeah, put it in chat because we don't want to give that number out to the masses.
Right.
Then we'll have a real get together.
Okay, so Alan, let's see. I have posted in chat all the info about dialing in here. So what you can do is you can dial in with one of these phone numbers that you see there.
And you keep your video going and we'll hear the audio.
And you can, you can use your video, but you can use the dial up to do the audio portion.
Can you click on the chat symbol down at the bottom of the screen? There's a red 1 popped up there. That'll show you the number to call.
This is exciting.
Yes. I could talk about Polly.
Yeah.
Sure.
So I'll read this because it's much better than what I would say. Anna Pauline Polly Murray was an American civil rights activist who became a lawyer, a women's rights activist, Episcopal priest, and an author. She was the first African-American woman to be ordained in his Episcopal church.
Wow.
And she was pretty amazing. And I don't think that people recognize a lot. I mean, I just learned about her. I never knew about this woman, and she's this amazing activist, you know. And what happened is that I was in church with my aunt. I was in actual church and I don't go to church, but my aunt, I've decided that I would start going with her. And the preacher, or whatever, pastor, I guess is what you call them, said that he brought her up. He told me about her. He told the congregation about this woman. And he said, she identified as a trans man, and so he was talking about how she was prohibited from doing things, not just because she was a woman or a Black woman, but she was a trans man, in fact. And so when she was as a male, you know, she was getting that too. So but she fought against all of that and became, you know, you talk about success story. What an amazing person.
Dang, thanks.
You say she drove a Trans Am?
No, I said she was a trans man.
Oh,
but it does sound like that.
And what was the name of the book you're reading?
Song in a Weary Throat.
Song in a Weary Throat. Okay.
And this is even better. My aunt, who is fine with my gayness, but my aunt, when we got back home after church, she went into the back room and she came out and gave me that book.
Wow.
She had already read it.
That's awesome.
Surprise.
She's a Republican.
Wow.
She's a Republican. Yeah.
That's encouraging. That's encouraging.
It was pretty amazing. Yeah.
Okay, that's on my list to read next. Thanks for turning me on to that. Wow.
Absolutely. And happy Pride as of
on.
It was yesterday.
How can Alan Pogue look as young as he does?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, we're talking about
amazing.
you.
Talking about how what's that guy's name who never ages in Hollywood? Paul Rudd. You got a Paul.
I thought you were
Rudd
gonna say
thing
Dick
going on.
Clark, but then he's dead, so I guess he did age.
Well,
I've got.
Well, looks like Alan's trying to dial in, but is he? Are you having? Can you hear us? Oh, okay.
The wonders of modern technology.
Yeah, that thing you posted, John, looks like there's a bunch of different numbers there that are not local.
Yeah, I don't
know that there's a local number.
No, they always give you that many.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So just dial one and
oh, it says find your local number here. Let's see. I'll click that. Well, those are the only local, as in local to your country.
Oh, right on.
Yeah, so most people don't have to pay for long distance anymore. It's
Yeah, I know
Right.
that's
Thank
a
God.
relic of a
God,
bygone
do you
age.
remember that? Do you
Oh
remember
yes,
that?
oh yes.
10 cents a minute. Fuck you.
yeah, yeah. Well, I was fortunate to work with some early phone freakers
Nice.
who taught me how to make a
Oh.
black box, and I can confess to it now because I'm sure the statute of limitations is
Right.
expired because that was way in the past.
Scoop,
But-
the
Depends
phone
on who's
company has no
president in
statute of
August.
limitations.
Yeah, they have no scruples either. There was
There we
another
go.
great thing that we used to use to make free phone calls before they figured it out is you could take the pull tab from a beer can and
Yes.
click, ground it. Actually, it's shorting it out to the body of the payphone and the speaker or the mouthpiece part of the payphone, which is also metal, and that would bring you up a dial tone that you didn't have to put in your money.
Ooh, Nino.
And then you could do phone
Get
freaking.
out.
But they
Oh
caught
my
that and caught a lot of people
God.
doing it.
That's
one of my
another thing.
another of my crime sprees there, but that was
That's
fun.
right.
I remember when they stopped doing the phone booths and just had and just had the payphone on the wall. I always thought that was weird.
I went
Everybody
to
can hear everybody.
a computer security conference that a lot of hackers and crackers attended. And I remember a couple of things about that. One of the things I remember was walking up on a bunch of guys who were sitting there diligently examining the hotel keys to try to figure out the pattern to see if they could figure out how to crack the code.
Oh, yeah.
And the other part was walking down the street in San Francisco and finding a bunch of those guys clustered around a payphone where they had made a free call into the 2600 meetings. So there was like a 2600 meeting happening on the street there.
That's awesome.
Wow.
Well,
Yeah.
John, there was a early phone freak thing in our little hometown of Big Spring back when you could call a number that was already in service and get a busy signal, and then you could talk between the busy signal sounds, and anybody that was doing the same thing in town could hear what you were saying, and we had all sorts of strange conversations. And of course, Bell's telephone found out about that and put an end to it, but it lasted for like 6 months.
This reminds me of toilet talk. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I'm afraid to ask.
Scary sounding.
In prison, they bail out the toilet, right? And then they have, some of them are smart and they build these, tubes with toilet paper things. But if you don't have any water in there and you put your head down there, you can talk to people through the pipes.
Now that's a plumbing anomaly there.
It's literally called toilet talk. And it is, everybody hears what everybody is saying. It is insane. But people will find a way to socialize, I suppose, right?
I guess one modern version of that is that in some countries they run the fiber optics through the plumbing.
Oh, wow.
That I don't
Fiber
like that.
to the commode.
That's so gross, though. If you have to go down and fix it. What? Oh, I've got a Wi-Fi problem. Oh shit! Literally. Oh shit. Oh, that's not right. So I've got this Wi-Fi, and when I was in my other apartment and I was moving, and something happened, and
he's there.
There he is.
Okay. It says I'm in. Can you hear me now?
We
Yep.
can hear you, but you're echoing. So what you should do is probably maybe mute on your computer.
Yeah, and only talk
Okay,
through
I've
the
got-
phone.
Actually, I can mute you. There we go.
Okay,
Let's
well,
see.
I can get away from the computer also. Do I still have an echo?
Yeah, it is kind of.
yeah,
you are
put
getting
the-
a little weird feedback.
Yeah.
It sounds cool.
it's coming from the headset, I think. You're real close to the headset.
All right, I'll take it out.
There you go. Oh,
I'll take it
wow.
out.
Hey, we could have a rave.
Yeah.
Is that any better?
Oh, I know what's happening. So can you hear us through the phone?
Yes, I can.
Then
Yeah.
I suggest you turn the volume down on your computer or get away from your speakers or whatever, because I think it's echoing through there.
I turned it all the way down.
There
on
we
my
There
are.
you
computer.
go.
We're in business
Okay.
now.
Excellent.
Welcome, Alan Pogue. We're so
You-
happy that you're
Yay.
here and we can hear you.
Yay. That took some effort. Yes,
Well,
I
we're
was
glad
over at
you're here.
La Peña. I'm working up a show that's going to open on the 18th of July on Black activism from 1969 to 1980. I'm going
Oh,
to
wow.
focus on Community United Front and We the People and a bunch of the individuals that were involved, and some events, of course. I can't print fast enough. I have so many pictures, hundreds and hundreds.
Is that the one that says
Um,
serving the community, Black activism in the 1970s?
That's it. That's the card.
All right. Let me see here. We will just show that.
That's it. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh,
right.
man, that looks great.
Great.
I'm getting some lag there.
Oh, man. That'll bring back memories
Wow.
for those of us who were there. Let's see.
Oh, yeah. Well,
Nice. Wow. That is going to be so cool.
Oh, Velma Roberts. Wow, I hadn't thought about Velma Roberts in years.
oh, Velma, she was everywhere all the time.
Oh,
When
yeah.
I started
yeah.
looking through the file, I mean, she's on the street, she's at the police station, she's at the council meetings, you know, right up there on the dais, and in the front yard of Roy Butler. That was one of the biggest days when 300 people showed up in the mayor's front lawn. That got some attention.
Really?
And
Yeah.
yeah, because you can go over to the police station every day of the week and nobody cares, but you show up in the mayor's front lawn on the west side on One Niles Road, and that got some attention. Got the whole darn Human Rights Commission to show up and flank him.
Well, so when
So,
did you start shooting those photos? When did you start doing actual photojournalism?
Well, you know, I had my little plastic camera in Vietnam, and I bought a Nikon and brought it back. And what happened is my friend Steve Russell, he said there's a room open at the University YMYWCA when it was a big 3-story building on the drag at 2200.
Yeah, with
So I
the
got a
rag in the
room there.
basement.
The rag was in the basement, and the Community United Front had just started the Breakfast for Children's program on the ground floor. So there it was, and I sort of simultaneously became the main photographer for the rag and for the Community United Front, and then the Brown Berets, and then We the People. So I was taking pictures for all of them, and the United Farm Workers, of course, but strictly speaking for this show, it was Larry Jackson and the Community United Front, and then a split off group, We the People, and they had the Malcolm X School and a daycare center, and Larry had a daycare center, and the Breakfast for Children's program, of course, was national because it was started by the Oakland Black Panthers, I think, and then it was attacked by J. Edgar Hoover because it was getting the Black Panthers too much good publicity. But the truth of it all was that nothing the FBI could do could shut it down because it was just popular. I mean, you're feeding children who would go to school hungry otherwise.
Mhm.
And so that, I mean, what I noticed right here in Austin was that it shamed the city and the school district finally into providing something to eat for children who were in school and hungry and were not going to eat. And so we'd go there and people would cook breakfast. And of course, other people had to carpool and bring the children over and feed them and give them a sack lunch and drive them back to school. So it was a really big and needed a lot of coordination. So Steve Russell was running kids back and forth from University Y to the east side in his Carmen Ghia, which was pretty funny, in a tiny little car. And
I love those
so,
cars.
oh yeah, a little bitty car with a Volkswagen engine in it, and but it was pretty zippy. But the Black Panthers were running these Breakfast for Children's programs all across America, so they got the federal government into it because we can't have black radicals feeding children. So that got them to cough up enough money to feed those children. 14 million children in the end were fed breakfast because the Black Panthers started all this stuff and brought it to the attention of America. You know, if you feed children, they'll do better in school than if they're hungry all day. And it was tremendous.
And then naturally they were vilified.
Well, I was reading that J. Edgar Hoover was really incensed because he put a whole lot of effort into trying to destroy the Black Panthers. So in Houston, we had a fellow named Carl Hampton, and he started up People's Party 2 because he said the Black Panthers were People's Party 1. I'm People's Party 2 because I want to open up a chapter, but the Black Panthers didn't want to open up any more chapters because they couldn't cover them. They didn't have the finances or the logistics. I mean, the farm workers had the same problem. You know, you can't just go on strike if you have no strike fund, you know, things like that.
Right.
What are people going to eat? So
Right.
Carl opened up his own office and he got a lot of support across Houston. So much support that they wanted to get rid of him. So they set up an incident where the office was called and said there's a woman down the street being beaten, severely beaten, and she needs help. So Carl Hampton goes running down the street, but he didn't know that the Houston police had set up a sniper on top of the Baptist church. And when he got to a certain point along the street, they murdered him. They shot him, killed him.
Yikes.
And
Yeah, I was in Houston at that time in that neighborhood, and that was a very bad, scary time. And they had one of the local news guys, I forget the guy's name. He was or satirized in the best little whorehouse in Texas as a TV, you know, loudmouth.
Marvin Zindler.
Marvin Zindler.
Marvin Zindler.
Yeah, and he was running along with the cops carrying a shotgun and doing his usual, you know, rabble rousing, and it was really nasty.
well, I don't know if that was him, but some news person identified Carl for the sniper.
Yeah, well,
Who was up on
that
the
was
roof.
probably Marvin Zindler. I think he was the only one because all the other news people were smart enough to stay out of that, not be involved.
Oh yeah, you don't want to be the spotter for the sniper. And another fellow, Bar T. Hale, was wounded, but he wasn't killed. And I don't know how many. Oh yeah, there he is, Mr. Whitehair.
Zindler. Yeah.
Eyewitness news. Slime in the ice
Wow.
machine. Slime
Wow.
in the ice machine.
Yeah.
He's
So I'll
very
have pictures
white.
of Bar T.
Yeah,
Marquee.
now that picture you just showed, John, that was the poster child for white privilege.
Yeah.
Literally.
extra white privilege.
Which
God,
incidentally doesn't exist. White privilege.
Right. No, no, it's not a real thing. That's what I learned in my critical race theory class.
Oh right. That's against the law, critical race theory. We can't
I
talk
know.
about that.
I know.
It's a good thing we're not in the classroom. I guess we're okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I mean, I don't know if you want to talk about this, but you were at the Tulsa rally, not just last year.
Yes, a year
right?
ago. A year ago.
Was it about
Yeah.
this time? And
Well, it was
you were just simply, go ahead.
yes, I was simply taking pictures, and I was in, I don't know what it stands for. It's the BOK, the Box Center. That's where the Trump rally was. And it was about a third full. And someone said, well, there's something happening outside here. So I dropped everything, including the sandwich I was eating, and ran downstairs. And 3 people had tried to go up a flagpole and drop a Black Lives Matters banner. And so I was taking pictures of them being arrested and taken over to the wagon to drive them down to the jail. And when it was over, the police all turned on me and said, well, who are you? I said, well, I'm a professional photojournalist, and I'm photographing the Trump rally, and this happened, so I'm photographing this. And they said, well, prove it. So I showed them my business card, and of course I was covered with cameras. And then I searched through my iPhone, and I had a letter from the Texas Observer saying I was covering it for them. And then I had a wristband on that showed that I'd gone through security. But in my camera bag, I had medical supplies because I'd been a medic in Vietnam. And so I had tourniquets and blood clot agents. And then they pulled out my bullet resistant vest. Well, I had worn a bullet resistant vest. And I say that because no vest is bulletproof. Because I thought there might be, who knows, a gunfight. You know, the Proud Boys might start shooting at Black Lives Matters. I don't know. It could happen. It happened in Kenosha.
Quite valid.
So
That's
so
a
they
smart
got
journalism there, because a lot of us have worn those over the years, and it's no revolutionary act. You're just trying to protect yourself from a bullet.
Particularly
well,
now.
yeah. And the younger police officers were with me on that. They said, well, yeah, of course, you know, I'm wearing a bullet resistant vest, just same reason they are.
Right.
You know, you don't be in the middle of stuff. And but some of the police were really upset. They said the Secret Service said you weren't supposed to have one. Well, I went through security and they patted me down and they felt my vest and they said, well, that's fine. We don't care. Sure. Because it's not against the law to wear a bulletproof vest unless you're a violent felon. You know, they're perfectly illegal in every state in the union. So in the end, one of the younger police officers who wanted to talk to me about being a combat medic, really, and compare and contrast my experience to theirs, which would have been in Afghanistan or Iraq. And then he said, well, he's got credentials. He's a professional journalist. He's on assignment. That's it. You can go now. And the older police officers, say 50 years old, said, oh no, he can't leave. As a matter of fact, he's under arrest. And they wouldn't even say for what, because I hadn't done anything. So what they were doing was shutting me down, censoring me. Of course, I'd gotten a few pictures off to the Texas Observer just using my iPhone.
They were
But they took all
canceling
of my.
you.
Yes,
You were
I
being
was canceled. I canceled my culture big time.
Mm-hmm.
And so when they took me to the county jail, I didn't know what was going to happen. But I have to do a shout out to the Tulsa Bail Project, which is part of the National Bail Project. And about 11 o'clock at night, there's a knock on my door that said, your bond has been posted or whatever. So I wasn't asking any questions. I was moving to the door. But when I got to the back door, I said, well, where's my equipment? Where's anything, you know? And my wallet, my ID, my driver's license, my money, anything. And they said, well,
Your
the police
phone.
took that to my phone. I didn't have my phone. So it was all taken to the police property room. And this is Saturday night at almost midnight. And I couldn't get at it until Monday morning.
Oh,
So
Oh, it
but
gets worse.
I was surprised to find that there's a very lively progressive community there in Tulsa. And they took care of me. They said, okay, we have a hotel room. We have extra hotel rooms. You know, took me out to eat, took me to my hotel room. Of course, you know, I know anything can happen. So I had more money, more ID, another driver's license, but not another phone, stashed somewhere where no one would find it. Well, I went and got it. And then the nice people in Tulsa provided me with the phone and some walking around money.
Wow.
So they were all very kind. And I,
That's
just to be part of
amazing.
their Chamber of Commerce, you know, a river runs through it, you know, a little bit like Austin. Had very nice art museums and a lot of interesting trees, foliage. So, you know, but it took 5 months to get my phone back from the Secret Service. And it took 2 months to get my cameras. They had, you know, 2 of my cameras and my 3 zoom lenses and all of that. A lawyer there, without any cost to me, got it all back.
Well, did they hack your phone? Were you able to tell if they were able to break it?
I couldn't tell, you know, how can I know whether they could get into it? So when I got it back, finally, I took it over to the store and had it wiped. But, you know, you got to think, you know, what did they put in there? You know, I don't know. How could they keep on bugging it? So I was glad to have a new one, a different one.
Yeah, there's been a lot of stuff in the news about the feds and many police agencies. You know, that's what they do when they grab those phones or computers and keep them. They're trying to crack into them, and they have a lot of cooperation from many of these providers to allow them to do just that.
Well, unless it's an Apple phone. Apple is loath to get involved in that stuff.
Yes,
usually.
And so I don't know, but what I'm worried at is, so what I tell people, if you're going to one of these things, you should have what they call a burner phone, you know, a phone that you don't care about, and don't put any more information in it than you absolutely need. You don't want all of your friends to get sucked into one of these fusion centers, computers, so they can cross-reference all of your contacts and also all of your past emails for the, you know, from 10 years worth of emails. You don't want to have, it's like stealing your diary.
That is
of course they should
really, really good advice.
Yeah, I call it a burner phone. I mean,
Getting a burner phone. I think that's,
yeah, you need a phone that all you want to do is be able to send and receive calls, and then you what is it, Signal. You get Signal because it's encrypted from end to end.
Right.
So people can text you or whatever, and it's encrypted. So that would be the way to go. That's what I'll do in the future. And
wow.
You know, it
That's
sounds like
amazing.
what happened to you with the young cop and the old cop is very similar to some of the things I experienced in both Houston and out in the Bay Area back in those days. And they would be real, you know, friendly and good old boys when it's getting started, but if it looks like it's going to be funky and it's getting a lot of bad press, then all of a sudden they're going to start cracking down on people. And I had that happen a number of times where everything I was doing was just fine until somebody got an idea that this was going to be bad for them. And then they start confiscating tape recorders and tape cassettes and stuff like that. That happened to me a number of times in Houston.
and of course, the older cops are seeing themselves as agents of Trump.
Right.
And, you know, and so they looked at me and thought, well, here's a guy, he's with the press, but he's not pro-Trump. Well, if you're not pro-Trump, you're anti-Trump, and they're going to shut me down.
Right.
You should have worn a MAGA hat.
Yeah.
It would have made a
funny.
difference. I bet you anything.
I was wearing my Hawaiian shirt, but that didn't help.
Yeah.
You know,
When you eventually got your equipment back, was any explanation given? I'm sure he didn't, but.
Oh no, they don't explain themselves. But I did. You know, I had my compact card with all of my photographs were on it. You know, and they hadn't taken any pictures of themselves with it, so I don't know. I didn't have any evidence that anything had been tampered with. At least it wasn't erased.
Yeah.
And, but they didn't need to keep my phone for 5 months. I mean, that's ridiculous.
Don't you think that was just to teach you a lesson?
Well, it certainly did teach me some lessons. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the other thing you should do if you're going to any of these events is to have a contact person who isn't, and say, okay, here's my cell phone number, and if you don't hear from me by a certain time, start looking for me.
Yeah.
Which is always tough anyway, because they're not always going to tell you down at the police department whether they picked you up or not. But I had a friend who did that. She even called all the hospitals and everything looking for me.
Wow.
Although,
do they have a, I guess they wouldn't, this thing, you know how you can share locations with the
oh yeah, you
iPhone,
can
and
with
I'm
your
sure
iPhone.
Android. I
Yeah, you
guess
can do the find this phone function with an iPhone, and if you give it
but
to
you
the
can't,
person that's supposed to check on you, they might be able to find out where you are and where they stashed your
Right.
body.
but that's only if you take the iPhone with you.
Mm.
So
Yes.
because, and we're talking about a burner phone, and I'm pretty sure that doesn't, you can't do that.
Well, because it doesn't help
Yeah,
anyway.
find this
'cause-
burner.
Well, what they did was, and what I did, you find your phone. Well, what you find it's in some building in Tulsa, meaning it's in their property room or somebody's office. So that doesn't help you either. But if you were out in the world and they could find you, at least that would solve the mystery. They wouldn't have to. They could stop worrying about you.
Well, one other piece of it is that you can potentially remotely erase your phone. So
Oh
if you were
yes, you can do
concerned
that.
about exposure.
Well, I did. I hit the erase button. So what it would mean? Yes, it's if once it's turned on by anybody, it erases itself. That's a good trick, and I did that. So I don't know. Maybe they didn't turn it on. It didn't erase anything. Everything was still on it.
Wow. Maybe they just couldn't figure it out.
Well, that's right.
I mean, really, what would
yes,
they
I've got
assume
to
that you would have on there?
Well, they just want, they do. They want all of my contacts, and they put it in this what they call a fusion center into their supercomputers, and then they can see, well, who do I know? Who does everybody know? And how many names keep popping up? When do you become a person of interest? That's the question.
It seems
Yeah,
very,
I mean, it's a little bit hard
Charlie,
to assess exactly what is going to happen with your data. A lot of your data is already in the hands of some government agency one way or another, as well as various private agencies. And there's not a lot of transparency into exactly how that data is deployed, how it's used, where it's shared. And it could be that the government had all the data anyway. It's really hard to know that.
And then the government buys data from private firms too.
Yeah.
All the people are tracking everything on Google or what I look at YouTube, or that's all a commodity.
One thing to remember when you're traveling is if you're within 100 miles of the border, you're in an area where the Border Patrol or any law enforcement can grab all of your devices and investigate them for no reason at all, just because you're in that 100-mile zone.
But you know what they say, if you didn't do anything bad, you don't have anything to worry about.
Right. Like Edward Meese. Well, if you're arrested, you're guilty of something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But in the end, the Tulsa prosecutor wouldn't even prefer charges. So there was nothing to dismiss. It was just nothing.
Yeah.
It was simply a false arrest is what it was.
So you never got a charge. That you were never charged with anything that you know of.
Well,
you were
when
just
they
detained, arrested.
The police report said obstruction. They said that they asked me to leave and I refused. That's ridiculous. I mean, you're surrounded by 12 police officers that tell you to leave. Well, I'd be leaving in a hurry. And the thing was, we were just having an amicable conversation about being a combat medic here or there. We could have gone to a bar and had a beer and talked about it all day. But no. But the rudest part was in the end, the Texas Observer wouldn't run any of my pictures because the editor said I had received material aid from the subject of my reportage.
What?
Because, well, yeah, at first when I was talking to him, I said that Black Lives Matter had bailed me out because I thought that would make sense because I didn't know who bailed me out. But in the end, I found out, no, it was a Tulsa Bail Project. You know, and somebody gave me some money, but no one who was officially a member of Black Lives Matter. You know, just somebody who happened to be African American. But, and then you start thinking even further, well, so what? So what? No one paid me to go there in the first place.
Yeah, that's a bit of a stretch. You had already taken the photographs before any of that occurred, so it's not like, you know, they retroactively paid for your photography.
No, it was over. It was over at that point. So I thought it was like really a tremendous stretch to say that I've been paid, and if this was going to threaten their 501c3 status, that's quite a bit of
I wouldn't have threatened their 5. Well, I mean, I don't see how it would have been a threat to their status, but you know, people do things for strange reasons, and it's not always the reason they tell you they did it for, I guess. Sometimes I don't understand, I mean, just in general, how publications make decisions about what they do. Even something like the Texas Observer.
Yeah, Molly Ivins would have told me to go back to that parking lot and work it some more.
Yeah.
God, I miss
get
her.
some more money. Yeah. So that was pretty strange.
Yeah, no kidding. And so how was jail?
Well, jail, you know, I've been in a few, and they gave me a mask as soon as I got there. And the one thing that I did that worked for me was they asked me if I wanted a COVID test, and I said no. So then they put me in a cell by myself. Well, great.
Yeah,
You know,
fabulous.
So how many stars would you give the accommodation? Is this like a 4-star or a 5-star jail?
Oh, I give it about 3. It was a clean cell. You know, I did. There's no rats and roaches, and the sheets were clean, and you know, usual bad food.
I'd give
bologna sandwich or something.
That sounds better than the Oakland jail. I wasn't there for a while, and on parking tickets, you know, they had rats, but they were all well groomed, and I think they washed the rats every day.
Yeah.
I was in the Austin jail. There, I would say 2 stars if we're talking about roaches, because there were roaches. It was not terribly clean, and the toilet, for some reason, is in the middle of the room, and there are these benches along the whole room, so everybody's staring at the toilet.
It's like a very perverse strip club there.
Maggie, have you ever been in jail?
Also the water fountain.
Yeah, so
You've
Maggie
never been to jail?
Haven't been in jail, so we're left out. We haven't had the experience. I knew somebody one time who got stopped for a DWI, and I was giving him a hard time for drinking and driving, and he said, well, I wasn't really drinking at all. And I said, really? And I said, well, why did they stop you? And he said, well, I was tripping. And they took him to jail, and I said, well, that must have been a horrible experience in jail. And he said, no, I kind of enjoyed it. It was kind of neat. There were some neat guys in there.
It must have been a good trip.
Well,
I take it though that Alan, you were by yourself, so you didn't get to have any fun while you were in jail.
Well, I didn't get to have any conversations. No,
through the toilet.
Not through the toilet, or there was no pipes bang. No, what is it? Morse code on the pipes or anything.
Well,
Morse code.
I should say I haven't been in jail because I got put in jail, but I have been in one jail. It was the Lancaster jail in England, and they built a panopticon That was really creepy. If you're familiar with panopticons, it was a Victorian idea for the guard station is at the center so that they can watch the prisoners at all times.
Yeah.
So it's
You
like
know,
Oh,
Jemay
God.
Cascio referred to the internet as a participatory panopticon.
Mhm. Yeah, it was pretty creepy, I must say.
So
it's-
did
Well, I've
you-
been in a lot of
Did you get those pictures
prisons.
published anywhere?
Well, Daryl Slusher here in Austin
Yeah.
has a online magazine, you say, and so he wrote up the whole story, and that's about it.
Well,
That was
if-
the other thing. Texas Observer never even mentioned that I was arrested or why or anything.
What?
But I thought that was strange.
Really?
Yeah, it never happened.
What is up with that?
I don't know. I
Wow,
guess
they
if
didn't even report the news.
Yeah. And, you know, of course, I put my pictures, you know, on my Facebook page. And a lot of people said that was the best picture of the interior of the auditorium to really clearly show how few people there were.
Yeah,
Right
You know,
on.
they,
yeah.
they had an outside overflow stage, which embarrassed them. So they had to take it apart and get rid of it. There wasn't any overflow,
That was awesome.
you know.
That's hilarious. That's hilarious. It made me laugh so hard. And then he had another rally just the other night.
Oh,
Oh, with Abbott
Yeah.
at the border, right?
No, I think there was a
Ohio,
rally
I
in
think.
Ohio. Yeah.
And
Well,
it
you know,
was
that's
just
kind
the
of that's his
same-
thing. That's what he likes to do is have those rallies.
Yeah, yeah.
I
It's like
mean-
he's on tour.
He doesn't have the equivalent of Albert Speer or anything like that, but he does sort of enjoy making a show.
Like Citizen Kane.
yeah.
Does anyone know if he's doing I would assume he's going to do some rah-rah July 4th one. It just seems to make sense. to
Oh
me.
yeah, because he's preparing for his
his return.
reinstatement
Yes, his
in
return.
August.
That's
Oh,
right.
yeah.
Forgot about that. Yeah.
So
So
that's something to look forward to.
well, so that's a good question, Alan. Are you going to cover any more Trump rallies?
Well, golly, I don't know. I just kind of got thrown into it. Really, I was asked to go by the Veterans for Peace, who wanted a certain number of Veterans for Peace to stand in solidarity
Mhm.
with Black Lives Matters, and
sure.
so that's what got me there, to be, you know, perfectly out front about it all. But there I was, what I was going to do. Well, I wanted to cover the rally since I was there, and
Right.
I'm sad to say I never got to, was it Greenwood, the place where that got burned down back in the 1919 or 20s?
Yeah, yeah, the Black
Yeah,
Wall
Black
Street.
Wall Street. Yeah.
Yeah, Black Wall
Yeah,
Street. They bombed it
that's,
from kerosene bombs from airplanes and everything.
I don't think you can see much of of what was there before. I think it was pretty well leveled
Yeah, they pretty much just paved over it and pretended it didn't happen.
for many years.
just
Yeah.
like all of our history. It
Yeah,
didn't
a
happen.
lot of that going on.
A
Hey,
lot
I
of the
want to
present.
make a time check here. It's 8:00. We got kind of a late start, so we could, as far as I'm concerned, we could keep going if nobody has to drop at 8.
Hey, my dance
okay?
card's
I have to
open.
drop. I have to drop at 8:15.
Okay, let's go to 8:15 if
8:15.
everybody else is
Alright.
okay with that.
Yeah. Yes.
I'm the time
So,
cop.
yeah, and you're a good one.
Thank you.
So all of were you just because one of the things that I like to discuss with you is guns, as you know. And I'm wondering what you think about the permitless carry. First of all, prefacing it by saying that the what I learned from you was that the number of gun owners who are legally they are legal gun owners and they've done everything right make up like less than 1% of people who are violent with guns. Do I have that right?
Well, if you go to the DPS website, they keep the statistics on a variety of crimes. I mean, at least 26 felonies. And then they have percentages by the number of people in Texas who have a license to carry versus all other adults. And there is no category of crime that reaches 3%. Some of them are 2.5. You get a few people who have a license to carry that have, been DWI or delinquent on their payments to their wives and children and whatnot. But being involved in gun crimes and robbery, it's about zero. Because people who have gone to the trouble of paying the money, they're not doing this stuff. It'd be ridiculous. I mean, why would you want to have your fingerprints taken in your mug shot and then it's on your not your driver's license, but anytime you're stopped, like with the tail light out, they're going to know that you're probably armed. And it used to be that you had to give them your driver's license and your license to carry simultaneously right there. But I guess now that's no longer the case because you don't have to have a license to carry. You just have to be 21 and without a felony.
And you
no
don't
domestic.
need, and you can, so can you just go get, like, could I go to Walmart and just buy a gun without showing them anything? I mean, legally speaking, I don't know if Walmart allows that, but I mean, is that where we are?
Well, you have to do the background check for a legal.
You have to be. They'll take your driver's license and they'll run it through the DPS and get a background check. And I don't know exactly what all that entails, but yeah. But once you do that, they take your driver's license, they run it through the DPS background check looking for a felony or something, then you can stick it in your pocket and walk out the door. Well, now I want to say, because I'm a certified instructor for the license to carry, and you have to use a holster. You can't just stick the gun in your waistband in your back pocket. You have to have an actual holster that's attached to your belt or a shoulder holster or something.
That's the law. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, you can't just walk around with a gun in your hand. Now you have a rifle if it's in a sling and over your shoulder, but I don't think they want you to be carrying it in both hands in front of your chest. So if they don't want you to be carrying it tactically, like you're going to use it. They want you to have it squared away in a holster. But it used to be there was no restriction on the kind of holster. So it could be the simplest leather flap. It didn't have to be a retention holster so that someone could run up and grab it, and they couldn't grab it unless they pushed a certain button, knew the way it worked. You can get a level 3 retention holster that'd be kind of hard for anybody to get the gun away from you. But then you have to do some research on that kind of stuff. And if you don't have to take the class, then you don't learn the law. Like, for instance, if you go into a bar, well, you don't have to take your gun off unless they have a sign that says 51%. 51% of their money is in selling liquor on the premises. Because you can go into a liquor store with your gun on, because they don't serve liquor there. You can buy a bottle of it and drink it elsewhere, but they're not serving liquor there. So these are some distinctions that a person won't know unless they either read the whole law or take a class where they're going to teach you these things. Like federal, if you go to a federal anything, the premises is every square inch they control. But in Texas, I can park in the parking lot in the school with a gun in my car. I can't get out of the car with it on. But if you're on federal property, it's federal, and you can't have the gun in your car, at all, anywhere. But you don't know that kind of stuff if you don't take the class or if, do the research. And you can't have your gun on at a UT football game or at a certain kinds of amusement
parks. Because they say no guns allowed.
Well, and people, it's all of this worst case scenario stuff. People get excited their team is winning or losing, and somebody harasses them one way or another, they're afraid somebody's going to pull their gun out and shoot them, or whatever worst case scenario. Because people think, well, you're not supposed to have a gun in a bar because people get drunk and do things. Well, as a matter of fact, in Arlington, Texas, there was a guy with a concealed carry permit at the bar, having whatever he was drinking, and some guy walked in, started screaming incoherently, and shot the bartender, killed him. So the guy who was sitting there having his beer pulled his gun and shot the fellow who was shot the bartender. When the police came, well, the guy had more ammunition and a knife. I mean, he was there for some serious business that no one knew why, because he didn't know the bartender. But the police just said to the guy, well, good job. Thank goodness you were here. And have a good day.
But I am, that is an amazing story. And I mean, amazing as in, oh my God, how often does that happen? Because it doesn't. And so that kind of,
I've got another better one for you in San Antonio.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, I just, somebody was at a South something mall, and two guys were armed robbing a jewelry store. And there was a man, a husband and wife team, not them, but they were just having their wedding rings cleaned. And the one of the armed robbers pointed his pistol at the wife. So the husband, being very gallant, stepped in front of his wife, and they shot him dead. And they were about to kill his wife when a guy with the concealed carry permit saw him shoot the man, pulled his gun and shot him before he could shoot the wife or anybody else. Saved her life, and who knows how many other people.
That isn't, I mean, that is an incredible story. It just,
I could
it
go
doesn't,
on.
well, I know, but I think I could go on too with, scenarios where that failed. Okay, so here's my issue with the permit list. What do you think is going to happen now that there's you don't have to have a permit to carry? Is this a dangerous situation?
Well, I think it's all speculation, and people tend to think worst first thinking. And what I don't like is that people don't have to take the class. And it isn't because I'm losing business. I never made much money at it. I mainly taught school teachers, medical workers who wanted to have a license to carry. And not very often. Sometimes a lawyer, a guy that I knew as audio-visual person. But people need to not only know the law, but they need to know how to operate their weapon. You'd be surprised about how little people know. They go in and buy a gun, and that's it. They don't practice. They don't know how to practice, really. And they don't know how to carry. It's great. So I think that's a big loss, to have people just walk into a store and put the gun in their pocket, so to speak. I hope they get a holster and walk out the door with it without any knowledge of the law or anything.
I don't see how it would make that much of a difference with, say, crime. Criminals are going to carry guns without permits or with permits. In fact, they're more likely not to have a permit anyway, right? So,
well, no, because they don't want to be identified, and they have stolen weapons, that they couldn't register, and oh no. And then a lot of times the laws just aren't enforced. I remember one kid here in Austin who was caught a couple of times in a traffic stop with a gun on the front seat of his car in the passenger seat, and nothing was done until he finally shot somebody. And then there got to be a lot of questions about why nothing was done.
Well, I'm just waiting to hear one of these guys who has been, the same type that protested having to wear a mask during the, during the virus. They're going to protest having to mask their gun with a holster. I'm sure there's going to be some knucklehead that uses that as their defense.
Oh, sure. Well, you had the whole open carry thing, but then you had to carry it in a holster. but then it didn't lead to much. I don't think many people
Yeah.
really did it because it's just a big hassle and you scare people and they call the police and the police are going to have to come over and investigate. And
You told me that also that there are 42 other states that have permitless carry. Is that right? We're not
20,
doing
20
something new. Okay, 20.
No, and I think it would be very easy if people were serious about it to, look into what's going on in Vermont or in Washington State. In Washington State, once you're 21, you can just strap a gun onto your side in a holster and carry it. Now, if you want a concealed gun, then you have to get the permit, but it's very easy to do. You just go to the police station and say you want one, show them your driver's license and pay them $5 and you've got it. You don't have to take a test or do a firing test. You don't have to show anybody you know how to shoot or that you know the law. But
That's
then
crazy.
so how many people like that are committing crimes? That should be something you can investigate as
Yeah,
long
for
as they're
sure.
like the DPS here, they keep very good records. And as a matter of fact, the guy that shot up the Sutherland Church, he tried to get a concealed carry permit and they wouldn't let him. He said, no, we know you've got a felony domestic violence charge. Well, they knew because it was filed in Texas, but that fact was never reported by the Air Force
That's
to
right.
the
I
national
remember that
database.
now.
Wow. Yeah.
And
And that's how he could
he wasn't-
legally buy. Yeah, they didn't do their job. And as a matter of fact, it turns out they've been very lax in turning over these convictions of military people to the national database.
Oh man.
So that gets
And
into a lot
truthfully,
of
I mean,
misogyny.
you have to, yeah. Okay. What do you mean?
Well, what I mean is, okay, he threatened his wife, or maybe he beat her up. Well, so what?
Right.
It's your right as a caveman.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Good call.
So
Wow.
there's a lot of that.
Oh yeah. I grew up
And,
as a military brat, so yeah, I know that one well.
We'll just let it slide. We don't
It's
want our
gonna be
ace football player.
so. To what?
Oh, ace football player up on a rape charge. We can't have that.
Oh, exactly. Yeah.
No, that's very bad. Very bad news.
So,
But
so, I mean,
on that note, Bill Cosby got out.
yeah, they nullified his conviction. I didn't read it closely enough, but I got the headline in the
Exonerated
first
because
paragraph.
he worked with a civil lawyer, and the civil lawyer said, I will vacate your sentence if you help me with this over here. So in his deposition, he just told everything, and he was promised that he would not be charged. And so that's what got him out, because he was in fact promised that he would get out.
I don't think he was really exonerated, though. I mean, I think they vacated the conviction because of that promise. But
Yeah, they just said he couldn't be tried on the same charges again.
Ugh,
Yeah.
he's not America's dad anymore.
And
I'm disgusted by Felicia Rashad.
putting
I
bodies.
know.
What did she do?
Oh, she was like, finally, like she tweeted immediately, and I was reading like, so many parents from Howard University. It's like, why would I send my daughter to Howard University if this is the kind of dean we have that supports, a guy like this? Like, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, putting pot stocks went up too.
Yeah, well, it's like so many enablers. It's like, well, he never did that to me, so that I'm sure that never happened, right? Over and over again, we hear that.
So we're at
And it's not.
8:15.
All right.
Do we have
Thank
to
you so
drop
much,
now?
Alan. Thank you for
Okay.
being here. You'll have to come back and we'll log on early to make sure everything's working next time.
Well, yeah, I won't be torn away on some other business and be here and set up with my good speakers and good headphones and everything.
Right.
Okay.
All right. Well,
we
thanks
look
so
forward
much.
to talking again. Thank you.
We enjoyed the visit.
Thanks,
Okay.
Alan. Bye.
Okay.
Thanks,
See
y'all.
you, everybody.
Bye.